Only days after the launch of the new logo, Cracker Barrel had lost nearly $94 million in market value. Some analysts put the losses even higher, close to $143 million. The stock plunged by more than 7% in less than a week. Consumer polls showed that unfavorable views of the brand more than doubled, rising from 10% to 25% almost overnight. The restaurant that once symbolized comfort now symbolized corporate tone deafness. Inside company headquarters, panic set in. Should they push forward with modernization or retreat to the safety of tradition? The answer came quickly. On August 26th, barely a week after the rollout, Cracker Barrel officially scrapped the new logo, reinstated Uncle Herschel, and issued a public apology. The statement was emotional, promising that the values the company was built on would never change. Customers cheered, Trump claimed victory, and the old logo returned to signs across the country. But even with the win, the damage had been done. The truth, however, is that the logo fiasco was only the surface of a much deeper problem. Cracker Barrel had been struggling long before the rebrand. Over the past year, the company's stock had already fallen by nearly 40%, hitting lows around $38 a share. Rising food prices had forced the chain to increase menu costs by nearly 5% between late 2024 and early 2025, pushing away price-sensitive customers who used to see Cracker Barrel as an affordable family treat. Many families, already stretched thin by inflation, looked at the menu and realized it was no longer the cheap comfort meal they remembered. For a restaurant built on the idea of hearty portions at low prices, this shift cut deep. At the same time, younger generations weren't connecting with the brand. Millennials and Gen Z, who often value quicker service, healthier options, or trendy dining experiences, found little appeal in the heavy comfort foods and country-themed dining rooms. Even the attempts to modernize the menu, adding lighter meals, offering more tech-friendly ordering, and redesigning interiors, fell flat. Longtime loyalists hated the changes, and younger diners still didn't come. It was a no-win situation, leaving the company caught between two worlds, unable to please either. Adding to the storm, employees began speaking out. A viral video from a Cracker Barrel worker revealed what many suspected: that cost-cutting measures had led to pre-made microwaved food and that staff were stretched thin after layoffs. For customers who believed Cracker Barrel stood for home-style, made-from-scratch cooking, this was a devastating blow. The idea that the food was no longer authentic spread rapidly online, feeding into the narrative that the chain had lost its way. Loyal guests began to share stories of declining quality, longer wait times, and a dining experience that no longer felt special. The remodeling of restaurants, which was supposed to refresh the brand, only deepened the divide. Newer designs stripped away the cozy, rustic atmosphere that had defined Cracker Barrel for decades. Wooden walls, old-fashioned signs, and warm lighting were replaced with sterile, bright spaces that many customers compared to hospital cafeterias. For a brand built on nostalgia, this was disastrous. Cracker Barrel wasn't just selling food, it was selling a feeling of stepping back in time. And when that feeling vanished, so did the loyalty. When you put all of these pieces together, the price hikes, the stock collapse, the political backlash, the cultural divide, the employee revelations, and the loss of authenticity, you begin to see why so many people describe this moment as the downfall of Cracker Barrel. It wasn't just one mistake. It was years of slow decline, capped by one explosive decision that exposed every weakness all at once. The logo fiasco didn't create the collapse, but it accelerated it, shining a spotlight on problems the company had been ignoring. For customers, the betrayal was emotional. Cracker Barrel was supposed to be timeless, unchanging, a place where the world outside didn't matter and tradition was protected. When that illusion cracked, the disappointment was personal. For investors, the fear was financial. A company that could lose hundreds of millions in value over a logo change was clearly vulnerable. And for Cracker Barrel itself, the crisis was existential. How do you adapt to a changing world without destroying the identity that made you famous? How do you win back younger generations without alienating the older ones who built your success? These are the questions the company must answer if it hopes to survive. Even after reinstating the old logo and apologizing, many believe the scars may never fully heal. Once trust is broken, nostalgia alone may not be enough to bring customers back. Competitors are stronger, the economy is harsher, and the public is less forgiving. Cracker Barrel is left standing at a crossroads. One path leads to carefully balancing tradition with gentle modernization. The other risks more missteps and possibly the slow decline of a once great American institution. The downfall of Cracker Barrel is not just about a restaurant or a logo. It's about what happens when a brand tied to emotion, memory, and identity forgets the weight of its own symbolism. It's about how a single decision made in a corporate boardroom can ripple across the culture, politics,